This is VOA News. I'm Nicole Livas. U.S. President Donald Trump is blasting those he says were responsible for starting the Special Counsel's Russia probe. But after deriding Robert Mueller for months about his investigation, he said Monday that the prosecutor had acted honorably by clearing him of allegations that he colluded with Moscow. AP Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
Without naming anybody, the president says his foes did treasonous things.
Those people will certainly be looked at.
Senate Judiciary Committee Chair Lindsey says he'll investigate Justice Department actions after the president compared them to a failed coup.
We'll begin to unpack the other side of the story.
Democrats, meantime, are dismissing Attorney General William Barr's summary of the Special Counsel's report, seizing on a line that says the report does not exonerate the president of obstruction, though Barr said there's not enough evidence to find the president committed a crime. Sagar Meghani at the White House.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is asking his colleagues to join the House in voting on a measure that demands the report is released publicly.
It's a simple request for transparency, nothing more, nothing less, not to make a decision as to what you believe, not to say what we ought to do about it, just to make it public.
Thailand's first general election since a military coup 5 years ago was thrown into disarray Monday as two opposition parties alleged cheating, and the Election Commission said it could be weeks until the makeup of parliament becomes clear. Reuters' Panu Wongcham is on the story.
General Shah and the junta has the ultimate advantage essentially through the appointed Senate, where the junta get to choose all of its 250 members in the Senate, and this Senate will be essential in the voting for whoever will become the next prime minister.
That's Reuters' Panu Wongcham. The partial results show the military-backed Palang Pracharat Party won the most popular votes. This is VOA News. Palestinian officials say Israel and Hamas have agreed to an Egyptian-mediated ceasefire after a day of fighting in which Palestinians fired a rocket into Israel, and Israel retaliated with airstrikes on Gaza. Israeli airstrikes Monday evening hit dozens of targets across Gaza Strip, including the office of Hamas's leader. Ahead of the airstrikes, Hamas's leadership went into hiding, and there's no indication the leader is Israel Hanaya was in his office at the time. There were no immediate reports of casualties, which came as retaliation to the Hamas rocket attack that hit a house in central Israel, injuring 7 people. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke about it during a meeting at the White House with President Trump.
Israel is responding forcefully to this wanton aggression. I have a simple message to Israel's enemies. We will do whatever we must do to defend our people and defend our states.
President Trump signed a proclamation Monday recognizing Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights, reversing more than a half-century of U.S. policy in the Middle East. He announced it in a surprise tweet last week. The United Nations is making an emergency appeal for $282 million for the next 3 months to help Mozambique start recovering from the devastation of Cyclone Idai. The UN funding will be used to provide water, sanitation, education, and restoring the livelihoods of hundreds of thousands of displaced people. Michael Avenatti, best known as the lawyer for porn star Stormy Daniels and a vocal critic of President Trump, has been arrested and charged with extortion by federal prosecutors in New York and Los Angeles. AP correspondent Warren Levinson reports.
The U.S. Attorney's Office in Los Angeles says Michael Avenatti was arrested in New York on charges of extortion, bank fraud, and wire fraud. According to a criminal complaint, Avenatti threatened to use his ability to garner publicity to smear Nike. The complaint describes a scheme where Avenatti threatened to call a news conference to allege misconduct by employees of the sportswear giant unless the company paid him millions of dollars. The arrest came less than an hour after Avenatti tweeted that he planned to hold a news conference tomorrow regarding Nike. Warren Levinson, New York.
Prime Minister Theresa May says she does not have enough support in Parliament to hold a third vote on a deal for Britain's exit from the European Union. Her proposed deal has been rejected twice. Right now, Britain's set to leave the bloc without a deal on April 12th, which May has said she would avoid. Norwegian officials have opened an investigation into why the Viking Sky cruise ship carrying more than 1,300 people set sail despite storm warnings, forcing a major evacuation by helicopter. Hospital officials said one person is in critical condition. 8 others are still hospitalized. It was headed for southern Norway when it had engine problems and issued a mayday call on Saturday. I'm Nicole Livas, VOA News.